1. Look at the entities stalking by commercial plane, ducking and dodging, doing cartwheels. The entity's doing so under the fake sun. So the entities engaging, and the entity includes Southwest Airlines at the OVITT Family Community Library, where they're inside of the library stalking in furtherance of murder, and these co-conspirators of murder engaging in what is the ongoing fabrication of facts and information, while they engage in what is, as the government, conspiring murder, discriminating against me regarding exclusion from that City of Ontario library. It is currently 1:07 p.m. and there is the entity that is indeed stalking. It's 1:07 p.m. This is another one. The other one, they're doing the cartwheel over here because I've moved. Southwest Airlines is doing a cartwheel right in alignment with where my person is positioned, and they're also doing so because they are stalking. I just want you to see the building that they're flying over. It is the prosecution of any government actor that is not ignorant, and under the law, you're not ignorant about public corruption. That's in furtherance of murdering American citizens, a system of criminal surveillance. This is Paul Leon that is being federally prosecuted. He's already prosecuted with regard to the facts, and this is the federal case, and this is the ongoing federal case that the federal government is already aware of. He's being prosecuted. The entity is engaging in this criminal conduct because Paul Leon is a gang stalker. He is a domestic enemy. He is a threat to the public. He is mentally unfit, and he is professionally incompetent, while he is both a terrorist who is sitting in the position as a corrupt mayor, profiting off of my demise. And that's why you have the airline companies flying over the city hall, flying miles away from the airport and hovering just like every other venue, including the gang stalking churches like St. George Catholic Church. It is currently 1:08 p.m. and this is what the entity is doing. Moments earlier, Southwest Airlines is stalking by flying over the senior center, and they're first flying over the Ontario City Hall. They're engaging what is a line, stalking in the path, flying over the Senior Citizen Complex, the Ontario Senior Center, and this is outside of what is zoning, and it's clearly outside of what is in alignment with Southwest Airlines' Terminal 4. And it's also outside of alignment with what the entity has published regarding when flights are scheduled today from the Ontario International Airport, which is not a major airport. It is an alternative for what is a major airport like Los Angeles, LAX, which is also engaged in gang stalking. Nonetheless, the entity is maintaining high frequency regarding plane activity, and it's also outside of what's published. It's currently at 1:09 p.m. The entity gang stalking 1:07 p.m. and before that I'm capturing it, and there are no flights that are scheduled during this time. This is what you're paying attention to, and there are no terminals where the entity is going to be hovering miles away from the airport. This is the pattern of conduct. This is what the entity is doing with regard to stalking, okay? Stalking a very specific person. The person that they're stalking is the one that is federally prosecuting them. And the entity is in fact mentally ill, and they're doing so under that fake sun, which is showing mental illness. This is for the world to witness that these are the demon-possessed who are a mentally ill population who are keeping everyone under surveillance, and it is state action. They're not private citizens engaging in government action. They're also not private citizens while they are engaging in what is corrupt conduct with that government. Okay, their entity is doing so under the fake sun. OVITT Family Community Library and C. Gerber is gang stalking me, giving me a document on March 3rd, 2026. And this is where he's in his vehicle at 10:17 a.m. And this is right before daylight savings time. So that would be 11:17, and it's 1:04 p.m. where this fake sun is over the same position. He's going to prison. That's documenting a stalker regarding a police department. He's going to prison, and so is Mike Lorenz. Okay, this is the entity this is a stalker identifying the specific environment and the psychopath that keeps their back to you while they are stalking you with the government. That's also engaged in that pattern of conduct. It's relevant that it's happening where the city hall is speaking to government engagement and no reasonable ignorance nor actual ignorance. And this is what's happening while that fake sun is over me, and the entity is maintaining that ongoing gang stalking, maintaining serial flight. All right, this is P.O.C. It is at the OVITT Family Community Library is where I'm at. The entity is maintaining this environment over me. This is where I've already documented the entity keeping the fake sun until sunset. All right, it's currently, I was here the other morning and the entity has the fake sun, as I reminded you, about 8:35 a.m. and I'm in Montana at Spring and Sierra, and this is where Southwest Airlines, the Ontario International Airport, the commercial airline companies that are terrorists, and they're violent sex offenders keeping you and your children's genitalia under surveillance. That's how detailed their knowledge of you and their extensive invasion of your privacy is, okay? And these are sex offenders that are on the roads and the highways making sure that you're kept under surveillance. This is P.O.C. All right, these are the people of the state that are gang stalking as I'm en route to the venue, as I'm using the OVITT Family Community Library as a means of exemplifying public corruption throughout the city, and that is throughout any city. This is exposing how the government is engaging in surveillance amongst the people. And at the OVITT Family Community Library, where the entity has the fakes, and this is 12:59 p.m. And if you'll recall, this is the entity that's gang stalking while the entity keeps the fake sun. At the same time, it's over me in Fontana. They're inside of this venue gang stalking in impossible light, and the fake sun does not ever move. These are the people of the state that are sharing and targeting me and further into murder. These are the psychopaths that are pacing at the C Street turn circle where the fake sun remains. This is the entity that's under the fake sun at 12:59 p.m., which is the exact same venue where C. Gerber is under this fake sun at 10:04 a.m. on video, because C. Gerber is going to prison and there will be no debate with him. This is someone that's going to be prosecuted distinctly as a terrorist and not as a police officer. They are distinct under the law. And this is someone that's engaging in that with the gang stalking airlines, who are also on video under this fake sun that's in the same position on March 3rd at 10:04 a.m. All right, and here is C. Gerber operating the vehicle. Here are City of Ontario employees that are gang stalking. This is psychopathic pacing with the City of Ontario Police Department. And C. Gerber at what is 10:07 a.m. is gang stalking me via the unlawful exclusion from the venue. And this is the exact same position that the fake sun is in right now at what is 1:13 p.m. That is a supernatural occurrence. And this is the basis whereby the entities engage in what is a criminal act for which they're going to prison. This is the desperation while the entities engage in very, very obvious criminal activity. And it becomes obvious once that illusion is removed for you. And that's the public service of the P.O.C. Okay, so that you know the illusion that the demon-possessed in government are maintaining while they murder people, they kidnap them, they do so before they engage in that, they defame your character so that that way no one is questioning what is already one that is bullying in a position of abuse, which is that U.S. government in the first place. Okay, and because it is the government, that's exactly why they're going to prison. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. This is where the entity, just like at the Stater Brothers, rising over the shopping center, as though they're taking off. There's no takeoff, and there's also no scheduled takeoff at this time. This is Southwest Airlines that is clearly exposing itself as one that is relevant for removing the company from existence, prosecuting for criminal conduct and further into murder, exposing the national security threat that all of the commercial airline companies are while they are gang stalking in California. And this is where the fake sun is at 10:17 a.m. Southwest Airlines is gang stalking me with C. Gerber, as I documented on March 3rd. This is P.O.C. And this is speaking to the mentally ill that are operating these planes. They are the suicidal murderers who intentionally crash planes like UPS did in Kentucky. It's not an accident. They're doing it in the environment, and those are the mentally ill. And it includes who works in that Ontario City Hall. And it is Paul Leon. He's a demon. Okay? And that's relevant regarding mental illness, which is not merely a conspiracy, not merely me name calling. All right, this is relevant to the pattern of conduct. It's not only criminal, it is psychopathic, highly malicious. All right, and the mayor is being federally prosecuted and removed from office for the criminal conduct of the community, of the government, that which he is also funding. All right, and what's happening in the sky space over the city hall is directly incriminating those that occupy that building, just like at every other facilitating venue. They're not ignorant while they're in this environment. And this is speaking to Sean Thrasher, who is going to federal prison. Everybody in this library is gang stalking. Okay, this is P.O.C. The vagina monitors in Ontario under the fake sun that's remaining here, which is exactly where it's remaining as I'm documenting, 5:48 p.m. This is where Southwest Airlines is letting you know that they are a threat. And the federal government is not missing that. They're not ignoring that. It's going to be responded to. The federal government is taking it as a direct threat by the entity that's engaging in gang stalking, and threatening the federal government is not going to end well for those that engage in that. Just like any other act of war, terrorists are going to prison. Southwest Airlines is engaging in what are acts of war against American citizens, against this country, and you're not only going to civilly and criminally prosecute, you don't have a basis to remain. This is ongoing psychotic behavior while they are pacing one plane after another for the criminal purpose of monitoring, which is the inhumane means of stalking, and doing so relevant to what is psychological torture in that very clear environment, speaking to targeting one person. Okay, the entity that's engaging in what is a psychological torture tactics is the one that is mentally ill. All right, this is P.O.C. The entity is engaging in what is absolutely absurd and frivolous. This is corrupt, and it is also entirely defamatory, again, with regard to what is evidence. This is an admission, while the entity is gang stalking, both by giving me this document and making all those statements as I captured on video, but also while the pattern of conduct, as you're witnessing Southwest Airlines and the people of the state, the Ontario International Airport, the City of Ontario, the same OVITT Family Community Library. that are engaging in the pattern of conduct right now, they are going to prison for this. This is not merely discriminatory conduct. This is a federal group stalking and monitoring that's intended to obstruct justice so that they can get away with murdering me, which is the typical circumstance. They're not going to get away with that. This entity has sacrificed itself. Paul Leon's being removed from office. He's going to be prosecuted. And this is where the Ontario police are flying in circles over me on a daily, nightly basis. Mike Lawrence is going to prison. Okay? This is the entity that's engaged in that. And so are the people of the state. And so are the state actors inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. All right? The entity is maintaining this pattern of conduct because they are very much aware and keeping my evidence under surveillance, which my evidence also shows these unintelligent demons that are wearing police uniforms, making statements that are documented, revealing what is their clear purpose while they are targeting, which is obstruction of justice. And it is directly rebutting the statements that have been made regarding what they're actually doing, what their actual purpose is, what their actual knowledge is. And they're going to prison for that. That's malice. They are lying and misrepresenting the reality because they intend to commit murder and kidnapping. That's an unlawful threat. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that is indeed engaged in the criminal conspiracy to commit murder. And contrary to the tactics, the method, the lack of strategy, this is supposed to be a strategy, but it's not a strategy. I'm showing you that it's foolish conduct. It's literally prosecutorial suicide because the entity's tactic is to engage in more and more overwhelming conduct regarding stalking. I'll do more and more plane activity, more and more impossible light activity, more and more helicopter activity. And all you're doing is documenting that because you are going into a mental institution. You're going to prison. You're going to be prosecuted on the record, a matter of public information, that you are in fact a terrorist. And you are going to compensate at a level that has never been contemplated before under federal law. And that's because it's never been proven that a company is engaging in, nor the mechanics of how a company is stalking one person. And that's exactly the public service that the P.O.C. provides. This is the removal of the domestic terrorist leader who is in position that he is unfit by virtue of existence of domestic terrorism in the city where you want to be a leader. You are no leader. In fact, you are leading in corruption. You are leading in lawlessness. You are leading in what is criminal activity and facilitation of criminal activity and a criminal mindset amongst a people, which poses, as you are well aware, as I go from city to city and state to state, a national security threat. Okay, this is one that is not only unfit for office, this is a domestic enemy, this is terrorism. And there is a reason why that must be dealt with under law, why the Ontario International Airport, the entity itself, feels comfortable gang stalking over the Ontario City Hall, and he's being federally prosecuted for it. Okay? There is no rational basis to engage in anything other than a federal prosecution for those that provide deceptive misnomers. He's not a president of an airport board. These are terrorist leaders that are overpaid vagina monitors. This is entirely corrupt. While you look at the ongoing criminal activity, blatant criminal activity, blatant harassment tactics, blatant acts, and seeking to obstruct justice and threaten while they are stalking, including by commercial airline planes, where you are responsible under every other circumstance and knowledgeable under every other circumstance, both on paper and logistically with regard to what's going on with the airport and those flights that are taken off from that airport. This is the entity that's engaging in surveillance. They're absolutely aware, and they're going to be federally prosecuted. This is terrorism. It's facilitation of terrorism. And the laws are going to be applied on a strict liability basis seamlessly. You're not going to be treated differently under the law. And they're engaging in this while they are conspiring murder and making money and calling themselves, instead of a terrorist regime, they're calling themselves airport leadership, the Ontario executive team and the airport board. It's just like the federal group stalking and monitoring under the guise of a grocery store. It's another form, another iteration of a terrorist regime. And every iteration shall be subject to federal prosecution. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:22 p.m.